there's players throughout history, we ask if they had stayed healthy, this is what they could have been, right? We don't want that to happen to AD. And he's already set a high bar for himself. And again, going back to the East, we're now asking that question about KD. Can KD stay healthy and see his best self? But I think with Anthony Davis, it is a question that we are going to have to talk about, right? Because it's a game changer when he's on that basketball court and on the floor. And right, you don't want it to be something when it's a bigger problem and then it's impacting his career. Because I think now another player that we're looking at, if they can stay healthy, you look at Clay, right, being out of Golden State and his impact, right? And now it's like, oh my gosh, it seems like Clay can't catch a break, right? We don't want that same narrative for Anthony Davis. As the whole point of bringing him there was to be a game changer. If you're hurt, you can't be a game changer, right? Maybe you can motivate them from the bench, but we need you on the basketball court, right? That's why we're coming here to Los Angeles. And so I think I'm not ready to go on the narrative that he's always hurt and it's going to be a game changer in his career. Again, I want to see how he bounces back. But I think AD is a great player, right? I think we're going to get him back, but again, give him time to get back into that rhythm. So I'm not ready to hit the worry button just yet, even though I see he's not having the night that he wants to have just yet. But again, just a quality player with a proven resume. When you're playing next to someone like LeBron, you're going to give it all you got and bring all of your intensity, right? Because, you're playing with greatness. I think greatness eludes greatness. And I think everyone knows they have to play to that next level when you're playing with a high caliber player like LeBron James.
And I don't think the Lakers were worried at all, Kelsey and Joe, that they're 35-23. That's not the record they want to be. They're right now number 5 in the Western Conference. They take on the Denver Nuggets, but as they feel, as long as they're in the tournament, they still have a chance to repeat as world champions. Yeah. And then, as you said, when the King gets back, they've got Andre Drummond there. They've got Dennis Schroeder. They've got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They've got Alex Caruso off the bench. They've got so much talent still there from that championship team that made that run in Orlando and beat the Miami Heat. So when 23 comes back, all will be well in Lakerland.
Exactly. You'll still see them smiling in Los Angeles. And exactly, you just said all of those pieces. So they're still playing good basketball. But again, once those guys come back, that's a scary Lakers team, right? And they're just going to be very hard to beat and very hard to deal with.
Yes.
Yes, it is going to be a little bit scary. But talking about scary, and I'm going to go ahead and move over to some baseball action, talk a little bit MLB. And where I want to go ahead and take this, it's with how the pitchers, ERA, how some of these pitchers, the high caliber pitchers, how some of these have been struggling and how they have their average, above 5 or like in the 5, almost 6 mark. 4 marks. And it's really something, is it something to maybe be concerned of? Like Jacob deGrom, Patrick Corbin, Clayton Kershaw is one of those, just to name a few, is that they're, starting the season has just started and they're struggling. So is this something to be of concern? And I know there's still a lot of season left, but is it maybe a little bit of a red flag? And we're seeing this a little bit more of these higher caliber pitchers having, struggling. And we can go down the list, but.
Yeah, we just touched on it though. The season just started again. I'm not ready to hit the worry button just yet. I don't know. Maybe I'm just somebody that plays it cool and is not, just freaking out yet. But again, remember the year that was. COVID-19, we just passed the year mark on it. We know how it impacted our personal lives, and we know how it impacted sports. And again, it's very early on, as we all know. Again, went back to basketball, where the Wizards started and where they are now. I think baseball, you have to look at the length of the season. And I think what you touched on is right. I'm not ready to hit it just yet. I am ready to have that conversation that we're having now. I think we still need some more baseball to happen before I hit the worry button.
I'm not worried that Dallas Keuchel has an almost 6 ERA. Lucas Giolito has almost a 6 ERA. Adam Wainwright has a 5.03 ERA. They've only gotten 4 or 5 starts. There's a lot more baseball to go. They're going to have at least 30 to 32 starts. So there is a lot more action for them to take on. It's just they've only hit like an eighth of their season as far as pitchers are concerned. Yeah. There's a lot more chances for them to show improve and raise that ERA up and be better pitchers.
Yeah, everybody's just worrying too quickly. Calm down. We've still got a lot of the ball game left. So I completely agree.
Yeah, because sometimes we get to see the pitchers and they start off struggling, and sometimes they just can't recover. And, starting off a little bumpy in the season can sometimes, if it is what you see, it can turn out how your season is going to be, not for others. So that, bring it up. And is it something to be concerned of? I do want to ask Kelsey, with David Price and the Dodgers. He's pitched about 8 innings, more or less. He hasn't started a game. So what can we expect to see from David Price and the Dodgers in a different role so far? And could that possibly change what could be the scenario playing out here for David Price? I know he opted out of last season. It could be he's trying to get back into getting into a starter role and maybe trying to get warmed up. What are your thoughts?
Well, that would be the hope, right? That would be the hope. You're hoping that he gets back into some type of groove. And I think, this is the $1 million question, right? This is the question that everybody, wants to know. And I think it's going to be interesting to follow. I will say that. And I think, you have hopes for someone like David. I mean, just someone that's promising. You went back to last season and again, just knowing all that has happened. But I think the biggest thing for me is, hoping that he can commit. And then once you commit, fingers crossed, getting back into that groove, right? That's what fans want, getting back into that groove. Because we all know players have ceilings, right? Not everybody reaches their ceilings, let's just be honest, right? But when you do hopefully surpass that ceiling, it's a different ball game. And so I think you touched on, I think the hope is that he will be able to come, get back into that rotation. But I think, it's the big question. I will say that it's the big question. I think something that we all have to closely follow as sports fans.
But the great thing about the Los Angeles Dodgers being world champions, they've got a wealth of talent. They've got unlimited dollars to spend money to bring in talent. My goodness. And they're just an incredible baseball team, much to Joanna's dismay, because she's a Diamondbacks fan and she loves the Red Sox. And she doesn't, as you can see her face, Kelsey, she doesn't like any talk about the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Los Angeles is just doing it. Let's just be honest. Whether it's Lakers or the Dodgers, it's something in the water, I guess. I mean, I think, again, this is why fans aren't pushing the panic buttons just yet in Los Angeles. It's a good time to be a Los Angeles sports fan, right? I mean, things are going pretty well. Things are going pretty well. Yeah.
Hey, they're 14-4 now. So they're starting off well. And they're doing a whole lot better than the Diamondbacks. That's for sure. I wish that was a little bit of a different role, but I'll take what I can get, I guess, for the time being.
It is what it is.
Still,
yes, but how about the Oakland A's? Have you been keeping an eye on them and how they've been doing recently? They have 11 straight games, and they're just a team that has just kind of come out of pretty much the nowhere and have surprised everyone in 11 in a row winning streak. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You guys are making me wish I got to do West Coast stuff even more, because being on the East Coast and in Washington, D.C., obviously most of my attention is more so with the Nationals and the Orioles. But I think I'm so happy that you brought it up. And I think it's a team that needs attention brought to it, quite frankly, right? We're not talking about it. The national media isn't talking about it. And I'm glad that you brought it up. So I think when you bring up all of those different stats, it's a team that we do need to watch out for. And again, we want competitive baseball. Well, there you go.
It doesn't help that they're in a smaller market in Oakland, but still, to win 11 in a row, that's an incredible accomplishment. And sometimes you need luck on your side, like they had against the Twins the other night when the Twins had 2 errors in the 12th inning, giving Oakland the victory. So sometimes that's the way you win games. You don't win in slugfests, even though it was 13-12. But it's just sometimes the ball just bounces your way, just like it did the Nationals' way a couple years ago when they beat the Astros and won that world championship.
There you go. Well said. Exactly. And I'll tell you, the fans are still holding on to that. We're trying to be in the District of Champions. And so we're hoping one of our sports teams brings that back.
Well, Kelsey, of course, I'm from the DMV, so you and I are eye to eye on that.
Yes, we need a championship, right? No matter what sports team does it, somebody has to bring it back. We've gotten spoiled here now.
No, what I was going to go ahead and ask is, speaking of the Washington Nationals, right now they're having a little bit of a rough start, 7 wins, 9 losses, under 500 for now. Hoping that could turn around, because we know the year that they did win the World Series, that was, a little bit of a similar story here.
Yeah. So, underdogs, right? That year.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So what are you seeing so far from the Washington Nationals? I mean, what is it that they can do differently, or as the baseball and season go ahead and continue, something that can change, or what do you see out of this Nationals team this season?
Yeah, I think you said it, it's not the start that anybody wanted, right? Like, especially again, I told you earlier, people are wanting the District of Champions hopes to keep alive. But again, it's still early on. I think they're still figuring out the kinks. And you pointed to a great point. That season that they won, the underdogs, and things weren't going fully as they planned. And I think the great thing about the Nationals is, again, I think especially when you in this area, you have more hope and joy for the Nationals to have a better season right now than the Baltimore Orioles. And so I think Nationals fans right now are just like, look, we're going to give them a little bit of time. We're glad that we're back with at least a few fans, right, in the stadium. But I think what we're seeing, again, is just them kind of working out the kinks. But I think the Nationals, we're not ready to hit the panic button just yet. But again, we know this team has the pieces. It's just the pieces all coming together. And so I think the Washington Nationals, no one's freaking out yet. It's still early. And we set their record. But I think they're a team that's growing and kind of just getting back to hopefully what will be another championship season. It might not happen, but I think that's what we're waiting for, right? And now that's the team that we're going to always compare them to, right? That's the Nationals team that we want back in DC. Because again, once you get a taste of victory, especially in the nation's capital, and Ed, you know this, being from the area, it's like, you don't let it go. You don't let it go. We have high expectations for our sports teams, whether they're warranted or not.
That's right. And in a division with the New York Mets, as good as they are, as good of a start they've had with their pitching staff, in the Atlanta Braves, we know the run they made last season, almost made the World Series. The Miami Marlins, they're a good baseball team, and we expect the Philadelphia Phillies to bounce back as well. So the NL East is a tough division to win. That's not a give-me division.
Exactly. It's, again, good baseball. And you just pointed to all the different teams. Miami, a team that deserves way more credit, I think, than they're getting. But, I think, just to be honest with you, I think we all know baseball just needs more love in general, right? Especially when it comes to media, right? I think, so many great players and great storylines, and just making sure that we keep the attention on it. So I'm glad you all are having this conversation on this show.
Thank you. My gosh. I forgot the question that I was going to ask. I got so into what you were saying. I just spaced my mind.
That's how much she loves baseball, Kelsey. She just
it takes your breath away, right?
Yeah.
It
really does. I really is. I always joke about it, but it is, true. Baseball is my first love. It's always there for me.
Oh, I love that. It was football. Football is my first love, so I get it. I get the feeling and the passion. But it makes you even better. Right, when you have that passion to ignite you. So I love that.
Joe, I know I wanted to ask Kelsey. So your rise to be the Washington football team host and Fox Sports host and all the other charitable things that you do that's outside of sports. I know you moderated a class the other day for Quinnipiac University. You had a pretty cool thing you did there with one of the professors there. Just talk about how you became to be where you are in this media, this thing we call broadcasting, sports media, at such a young age as a young lady that you are.
Well, first of all, thank you for still calling me young. I feel old, so that's a privilege and honor. And honestly, for me, it's been a whirlwind. I think I've been one of those people where truly my story is one word: hard work. Lots of hard work put into this, and lots of networking, and lots of just finding the right opportunities. And luckily, growing up here in the DMV area, going to the University of Maryland, going to Georgetown, and just connecting with great people that believed in me and saw potential in me. It's kind of been my story and journey. And I've got to work in a lot of different mediums: radio, television, writing for print, right, publications, and just kind of continuing to own my skills. And so for me, it was great, of course, to now work for the Washington football team, one of the most storied football franchises, right, in the National Football League, a huge brand. And again, working in my hometown, and you all know this, but many times people say, you can't work in your hometown. You won't make it in your hometown until you go away and come back. And for me, it's been the opposite story. I challenged myself because, I was like, well, why would I leave the best place, right? I'm already here. I grew up here. I've watched the sports here. I'm a part of the DC culture. And so to be able to grow my brand here has just been a blessing, truly a blessing. I'm just continuing to find opportunities. So working with Fox Sports and getting to cover all of the DC teams, preparing for the WNBA season now with the Washington Mystics, watching the Washington Wizards. It's been fun. And of course, the Washington football team, getting to now see what this team is doing in the offseason as they hope to repeat as NFC East Division champions. it's just the world, it's been a lot of fun. And I guess the great thing too, Ed, you'll know this in this area, getting to cover DC and Baltimore sports. I mean, it just makes the apple more ripe, right? It just makes it more fun because you have lots of great sports being played in this